I haven't seen much of Madrimov, but I think Crawford's a very technically great boxer, one of the best in this generation, so I think he'll get the job done.
Boxing pros have shared their shocking predictions for the Terence Crawford versus Israil Madrimov fight. As Crawford prepares to ascend to a higher weight class to take on Madrimov, he takes a moment to share his insights with the boxing media. Crawford discusses his perspective on the upcoming bout, his future plans, and his advice to Shakur Stevenson on ignoring negative criticism. Crawford, when asked about what aspects of Madrimov's style he would aim to neutralize, responded that he would focus on everything about him. He acknowledged Madrimov as a decorated amateur with a lot of experience, despite having only 11 professional fights. Crawford noted that Madrimov was a world champion for a reason and deserved respect, just like any other opponent he had faced. He emphasized that every opponent brought something different to the game.
Against him?
Well, just everything about him. You know, he's a decorated amateur. He got a lot of experience in the amateur field. He may only have 11 fights, but he's 11 fights in the world champion for a reason. So he's strong. I got to respect everything about him, you know, just like I got to respect everything about any other opponent that I've been in the ring with, because everybody brings something different.
Moreover, Crawford described his recent sparring session with Andre Ward as a great experience. He expressed his appreciation for Ward, giving him the opportunity to spar with him, saying it was dope to be able to say he sparred with Andre Ward. Crawford found the sparring session to be very beneficial and considered it a valuable experience that he would cherish for life.
It was dope. It was dope. It was dope. And I appreciate Drake for even, you know, giving me the opportunity to step in the ring with him. You know, I can say that, you know, I sparred Andre Ward. That's dope, you know. So, you know, it was good sparring. It was very, very good experience for me. I'm gonna take it to the grave.
When asked if he expected Madrimov to be a technically difficult fight, Crawford said it could be. He emphasized that every fight had the potential to be his toughest, and that he wouldn't know for sure until he stepped into the ring. Crawford acknowledged Madrimov as a tough opponent and stated that he was not taking him lightly, having prepared thoroughly without taking any shortcuts.
It could be, you know, like I said, in the past, every fight could be my toughest fight. I don't know until I step foot in the ring, you know. Israil is definitely a tough opponent. We definitely not taking him lightly. We never, you know, took any shortcuts on this fight.
Regarding the recent criticisms of Shakur Stevenson's latest performance, Crawford said that Stevenson was one of the best, if not the best, pure boxers in the game. He advised Stevenson to keep doing what he had been doing and not to worry about the negative attention or backlash for convincingly beating his opponent. Crawford emphasized that not everyone is a knockout puncher and that the important thing is winning decisively without any confusion about who the winner is.
Well, Shakur is one of the best boxers in the game, if not the best boxer, pure boxer. You know, so I just tell Shakur, just continue to doing what you're doing. Don't worry about the negative attention that you're getting. Don't worry about the backlash that you're getting from beating the guy convincingly. Everybody's not a knockout puncher. Everybody's not going to go in there and knock every one of their opponents out. As long as you win it in a fashion where there's no confusion who the winner is, then you're doing something right. Just keep winning.
The Terence Crawford versus Israil Madrimov fight is organized by Turki Alalshik, widely regarded as one of the most influential figures in boxing today. Alalshik, the chairman of Saudi Arabia's General Entertainment Authority, has overseen several major boxing events in the last 18 months, notably including the Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk match. The 42-year-old has conveyed his belief that Crawford will achieve a historic performance against Madrimov. However, top boxing promoter Eddie Hearn remains skeptical. The chairman of Matchroom Boxing thinks the WBA champion has the potential to deliver a major surprise against one of boxing's top pound-for-pound fighters. In a recent interview, Hearn talked about the forthcoming 154-pound title bout and stated, "Probably the best card American boxing has ever seen, August 3rd in Los Angeles. Israil Madrimov is being massively overlooked. I actually sent His Excellency a message yesterday and I said, I'm really sorry to ruin your plans for Terence Crawford, because all people are talking about is what happens next. Canelo Alvarez Alvarez boots Ennis. Hearn further added, but Israil Madrimov, I think, is the toughest test so far of Crawford's career, up at 154. He's a huge light middleweight super welterweight, punches very, very hard, has tremendous movement, good boxing IQ, and outstanding amateur pedigree as well. This is a real fight. In July 2023, Terence Crawford secured the title of undisputed welterweight champion by defeating Errol Spence Jr. with a TKO victory. Bud made history by being the first male boxer to clinch undisputed world titles in 2 weight divisions. Talks for a rematch with Spence Jr. commenced after The Truth exercised his rematch clause. Due to his legal obligation to a rematch with Spence Jr., Crawford was stripped of the IBF title by the sanctioning body for not accepting a bout with his mandatory challenger, Jaron Ennis. Following the breakdown of rematch negotiations, the former undisputed welterweight champion revealed his decision to step up to the 154-pound division, where he eagerly seeks to reclaim undisputed glory. However, Ennis is widely considered one of the top talents in boxing. After his recent IBF title defense against David Avanesian, Turki Alalshik shared this on X. I just reached out to boxer Jaron Ennis and Eddie Hearn to congratulate him on his win, and I'd love to see Ennis in a fight with Crawford at 154 pounds soon. Director Rich Hall crafts an evocative film through Big Time Creative Shop, spotlighting the anticipated clash between Terence Crawford and Israil Madrimov. The film vividly portrays the journey of each fighter, from their childhood bedrooms and family living rooms to training gyms and cross-country travels, leading up to the imminent showdown at LA's BMO Stadium. As each boxer settles into their corner, the film transitions into a seamless visual narrative. Hall skillfully uses the ring's geometry and its 4 corners to bridge past experiences with the present, creating a cohesive visual connection between the fight and the flashbacks. Rich Hall said, I built an idea out that told the stories of 2 amazing figures, Terence Crawford and Israil Madrimov, through the inverted and sometimes positive protrusions of a corner. We would be transported to Omaha, Nebraska, or a small town in Uzbekistan, all based on the interaction with their corners of the ring. Sometimes we would match cut, other times we would build sets into the corners, creating a sort of collage of their life within the square. WBA junior middleweight title holder Israil Madrimov, boasting a 10-0-1-7 record, asserts that his rich amateur background has thoroughly equipped him for his upcoming title defense against the undefeated former 2-division undisputed champion Terence Bud Crawford, who holds a 40-0-31 record. According to the 29-year-old Uzbek, he has fought in over 300 amateur fights, with 2/3 of those fights occurring in international championships. Madrimov said, experience-wise, yes, I have 10 professional fights, but it's a high quality. All 10 were WBA fights. All 10 were 12-rounders against stiff opposition. I have more than 200 international amateur fights, so overall over 300 amateur fights. I have experience fighting everyone around the world. The ring will show everything. On August 3rd, you will see everything. Southpaw Crawford has had one of the most successful careers of the modern era. 10 years ago, he made the trip to Glasgow, Scotland, to unseat Ricky Burns as the WBO lightweight champion, earning him his first world title. Following 2 triumphant title defenses, Crawford moved up to junior welterweight. There, he unified the WBC, WBA, WBO, and IBF titles. Last year, he replicated this achievement in the welterweight division. He has fought for the world title in a total of 18 bouts, competing in 3 different weight classes and winning each one, including 15 via knockout. Madrimov claims that despite Crawford's spotless record, he sees opportunities for him to take advantage of. Madrimov said, we have some things we've been watching. We're not going to talk about it right now. With a lot of fighters, they're losing before they even step in the ring with Crawford. They're already kind of on the downside of their careers. With me, I'm mentally strong. In addition to Madrimov's WBA title, the Crawford fight will also see the vacant WBO interim title up for grabs. Madrimov added, I know what I'm capable of. I know this fight is important for me, my family, for my legacy, and the whole country. I've got a whole country on my back supporting me. I'm definitely coming out there to do everything within my power to get the victory. My only thoughts are positive thoughts. I know what I'm capable of. Everyone is talking about this fight, and everyone is looking forward to the August 3rd fight. As the excitement builds for this significant match, Crawford remains focused on Madrimov, quashing any rumors about a possible future fight with Saul Canelo Alvarez. Crawford stated, I'm not thinking about Canelo or any other boxer right now. All my thoughts are on August 3rd and the fight against Israil Madrimov. That's the only thing on my mind. Despite his amazing record, Madrimov appears to be entangled in a rivalry with the undefeated Virgil Ortiz Jr. Madrimov was in the midst of training for his match against Bud Crawford, sparring alongside Ortiz Jr. under the supervision of Robert Garcia. Curious about the origins of the feud? It all started when the Uzbek boxer, during an interview with Snow Queen LA, made remarks about the sparring session and Ortiz that didn't go down well with the American. In the interview, Madrimov shared his thoughts on Ortiz Jr., describing him as a strong guy, good guy, and referring to their sparring session as a good experience for him. He elaborated on his initial initial impressions, stating, "In one word, he is a normal boxer." When asked if Ortiz Jr. had made a strong impression on him, Madrimov emphasized Ortiz Jr.'s significant strengths, specifically his high volume of punches and his relentless pressure on opponents. He later added, "Our game plan was to play with him like Soviet amateur style." Despite this relatively polite response, Ortiz Jr. seems to have taken offense at some of the things Madrimov said. Turning to X, the Dallas, Texas native wrote, "Our game plan was to play with him sounds like an excuse, like I wasn't really trying when this normal boxer put it on his ass." Also, adding that Madrimov didn't even show up for their sparring session the next Monday without informing them. Virgil Ortiz Jr. is obviously not impressed with the 29-year-old fighter, but Madrimov is expected to sabotage Saudi Arabia's ambitions for Terence Crawford, according to a British promoter. The forthcoming bout marks Crawford's inaugural appearance in the welterweight division, with His Excellency Turki Alalshikh voicing strong expectations for Crawford's performance. It's anyone's guess what Crawford will deliver in his upcoming bout with Madrimov. After spending the past year celebrating his triumph over Errol Spence, and with his move to a new weight class he's never fought in before, Crawford's performance is a complete unknown. Additionally, Crawford is approaching 37, and his achievements are among the least impressive for a multi-division world champion, comparable to Adrian Broner's record. Similar to Broner, Crawford has been largely inactive for several years, with infrequent bouts against opponents like David Avanesian and the already past their prime Sean Porter and Errol Spence. Easy work. He him up. He was probably around 180, said trainer Robert Garcia to ES News, talking about Israil Madrimov during his sparring with Virgil Ortiz Jr. "That's the real reason why I say Crawford is going to get him. I've been in the ring with him. Crawford is going to get him in less than 7, said Virgil Ortiz, predicting an early knockout for Terence Crawford over Madrimov. It looks like there's some tension between Ortiz and the undefeated Madrimov following remarks Madrimov made in a recent interview. Virgil claims that Madrimov suggested he was merely toying with Ortiz during their sparring session. Virgil Jr. doubts the claims. He maintains that he ruled their training session. His coach, Robert Garcia, supports him, asserting that he emerged victorious from the sparring session, if one could even call it a win. Do you receive a ribbon for excelling in sparring? Virgil Jr.'s reaction to sparring might seem a bit trivial, yet it's clear he's grasping for ways to spark interest in his upcoming bout against WBC interim junior middleweight champion Serhiy Bohachuk. The fight has flown under the radar, largely due to weak promotion. Despite extensive promotional efforts, fans remain indifferent. Virgil Jr. has been largely inactive lately, primarily due to ongoing health issues. He hasn't faced high-caliber opponents recently, which means he hasn't yet positioned himself to capture the attention of the fan base. When it comes to sparring, Israil Madrimov could be Virgil Ortiz Jr.'s most effective way to generate some buzz, even if it's a bit underhanded. Let's hope Virgil doesn't turn this into his go-to career move by flaunting sparring anecdotes, aiming to become a training camp celebrity. That's a fight that can happen too, said Robert Garcia, reacting to Eli Sechbach, saying that Virgil Ortiz can knock out Crawford. Virgil becomes the interim champion, and Crawford is the WBA champion. That's the next fight that could happen too. So we go that direction too, said Robert, wanting Virgil to fight WBC junior middleweight champion Sebastian Fundora. Antonio Tarver, a retired world light heavyweight champion, believes Terence "Bud" Crawford has selected a challenging match for his junior middleweight debut. The 36-year-old left-handed fighter from Omaha, Nebraska, is also rumored to be on the verge of a showdown with the undisputed super middleweight champion Saul Canelo Alvarez. This potential bout would see him moving up an additional 2 weight classes. Mexican superstar Alvarez hasn't shown much enthusiasm for the concept thus yet.
Terence Crawford, his name keeps coming up, and I know he's a lot smaller than you. Is that a fight that you would ever consider under any circumstance?
You know, I always say if the fight make sense, why not? But he is not in the plan.
Supporters of Crawford argue that his boxing skills will offset any inherent size disadvantage. Meanwhile, his detractors warn that such a rapid shift to a higher weight class could spell trouble. But he must first overcome Madrimov and accomplish it in a way that is truly stunning. This won't be an easy challenge. The 29-year-old Uzbek fighter, known for his physically aggressive approach reminiscent of Gennady Golovkin, has only had 11 professional matches, but boasts a background with over 300 amateur bouts. His only professional setback was a technical draw against Mikel Soro 2 years ago, which resulted from an accidental head clash that caused a cut above Soro's left eye and led to the fight being stopped prematurely. Tarver of Tampa, Florida, who went from light heavyweight to heavyweight and retired in 2015 with a record of June 1st 31-22, expressed his liking for Crawford's bout. "You gotta take your hat off for Crawford for choosing one of the toughest guys in the division. I think Crawford wants to make a statement," said Tarver to Fight Hub TV. He added, "When you look at at this guy, he looks like he's just a few pounds away from a Canelo build. He's going to be a strong guy. His arms are long. The way he fights, there's no real rhythm there, but he just goes left-handed and right-handed, and he's got power in both hands. Tarver mentioned that while Madrimov possessed significant power, he believed Crawford had a wide array of skills. He advised Crawford to rely on his talent and avoid engaging in a direct brawl with a powerful opponent like Madrimov. Tarver emphasized the importance of employing a solid defensive strategy and avoiding unnecessary shots, expressing confidence that Crawford could control the fight with these tactics. Tarver added, "He's not that fast. He's not that quick. He's a little plodding almost, so Crawford should have the speed on him. And I think once he finds his rhythm and his timing, I think Crawford will be able to do what he wants to do." Should Crawford emerge victorious, anticipate the drums to start beating for a showdown with Alvarez. Alvarez, who has only fought once this year, secured a victory over Jamie Munguia in May with a 43-1-34 record. After securing the welterweight title by defeating Errol Spence Jr. in 2023, Crawford voiced a keen interest in challenging Canelo Alvarez, the undisputed super middleweight champion. However, Crawford has shelved any talk about Alvarez while he gets ready for his WBA title match against Madrimov. The unbeaten champion, boasting a perfect record of 40-0, is focused on securing the undisputed titles in the 154-pound division, starting with Madrimov as his initial opponent. In a recent media interview, Crawford discussed the potential for a future bout with Alvarez.
Now, in a potential Terence Crawford Boots Ennis fight, then Terence Crawford versus Canelo. Am I crazy for saying that? Or
No, crazy. You're not crazy because that's your opinion.
right?
You know, that's your opinion, but at the same time, you know, being where I'm at right now, I'm looking at the fight that makes the most sense, and that's not Boots. Canelo's going to bring way more to my legacy, way more to my bank account, you know, because at the end of the day, when boxing is done with, what will we have?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want to have a legacy that's something that people talk about for the ages.
Anticipation is high for Crawford's first fight at 154 pounds, with many predicting a successful outcome. Turki Alalshik, who orchestrated this bout, is already looking ahead and considering future matchups for Crawford against either Jaron Ennis or Canelo Alvarez. Leading boxing promoter Eddie Hearn, though, thinks Madrimov might present a serious obstacle. Hearn recently discussed his ideas in an interview. He said, "I've got to say, and I really mean this, I've got bad feelings for Terence Crawford against Israil Madrimov, because all I hear is Crawford Canelo, Crawford Boots, Crawford this. He is fighting the biggest puncher he's ever faced on August 3rd. I'm telling you now, if Crawford gets hit on the chin by Israil Madrimov, he is gonna really know about it." Hearn admitted, "I've got a really sneaky feeling for my guy on August 3rd, I really have. I think it's a really tough fight." One emerging boxing talent is confident not only that the Canelo bout will take place, but also that Bud stands a genuine chance of becoming the first to knock Alvarez out. "I think they will fight, especially after Terence Crawford looks great against this guy right here," Keyshawn Davis recently told Fight Hub TV, referring to Madrimov. Keyshawn added, "After that, it's going to be almost mandatory for them to fight. Two men are going to have to want to fight each other. It can't just be one man. So after Terence Crawford proves himself, then Canelo should be up for it." Even though Alvarez is at ease at 168 pounds, and Crawford has recently ascended from 147 to 154 pounds for his fight with Madrimov, Davis is confident that Crawford's exceptional skills will secure him a victory over Canelo, and with a spectacular knockout. Keyshawn continued, "It's obvious that Alvarez has the size advantage, but size doesn't mean everything in the fight. You gotta bring more to the table than just size, than just power, than just speed. You gotta bring a lot of things to the table when it comes to a fight. I think he can knock out Canelo, yes, for sure. And if he does that, that's going to be crazy. If he knocks out this guy that he is coming up, that's going to be crazy." Madrimov is a young, hungry lion. While countless fighters would eagerly seize the chance to challenge Terence Crawford, a pound-for-pound legend, it's the Uzbekistan native who has earned this coveted shot. Madrimov will step into the ring with the future Hall of Famer, aiming to deliver Crawford his first ever career defeat. Although Crawford has become the pinnacle that many emerging fighters aspire to conquer, facing the American was never a goal on Madrimov's radar when he entered the professional scene 4 years ago. Similarly, he didn't set his sights on any particular boxing legend for future bouts. Madrimov told Ringside Intel that before turning professional, he only watched major fights and didn't pay attention to all professional bouts. However, once he turned pro, he started watching more fights and recognizing some of the greatest, including Terence Crawford. He admitted that he never thought about fighting Crawford or anyone else at that level before.
You know, when I turned pro, before I turned pro, I wasn't really watching like all the professional fights and stuff like that. You know, I'll be watching only like big fights like Pacquiao Marquez, I would watch all Triple G's fights, like Pacquiao and guys like that, but I wouldn't be paying attention to like all the fights. When I turned pro, I started watching more of it and recognizing some of the greatest, and Terence was one of those guys. I never thought that I'll be like I wanted to fight him or I wanted to fight someone else.
Madrimov added that he always appreciated watching Terence Crawford, learning from him, and dreaming about one day being on that stage as a big boxing star. He never focused much on who he would fight in the future, but was always ready to face whoever was there, starting with his debut. While he didn't specifically think he would fight Crawford, he did dream about such opportunity.
It's just like I appreciate it, and watching him was, picking up some things from him, learning some things from him, always dreaming about one day being on that stage, and people cheering, and my family there, like everyone, and I'm like a big boxing star, something like that, but never really kind of like pay attention to it too much, who I'm gonna fight or stuff like that. Whoever is there, I was ready to fight. Starting my debut, we won at the World Championship fight at in my debut. Unfortunately, we couldn't make it, so we went for all the sanctioning bodies, trying to get up there in the rankings and stuff like that.
Defeating Crawford would be a transformative moment for his career and life. It would instantly elevate him to the ranks of Uzbekistan's boxing elite and catapult him into superstardom. Such a win would grant him the leverage to demand more high-profile matches, with Madrimov eager to challenge the sport's current biggest name, Canelo Alvarez. Madrimov stated that everyone's dream is to fight the biggest name fighters, and his current focus was on Terence Crawford. He acknowledged the ongoing discussions about a potential Canelo-Crawford fight, but suggested that perhaps it was time to talk about Madrimov-Canelo. After his fight with Crawford, Madrimov planned to seek out the biggest fights, expressing a particular interest in the opportunity to fight Canelo, which he would love to have right after Crawford.
Everyone's dream is to fight the best names, the best fighters, to get their best opportunities. And I'm thinking about the task ahead of me as Terence Crawford. Obviously, I see all the talks and everything that people are like, oh, Canelo Crawford, talking about those fights. Maybe it's time already now to talk about Madrimov Canelo. You're right. And after the fight, of course, I'm going to look for the biggest fights. And opportunity to fight Canelo is a special one. I would love that one right after Crawford.
It's clear that Crawford's previous rivals would have been overpowered by both Madrimov and Boots. This complicates the task of accurately assessing Crawford's skill level, given that he hasn't faced an elite-tier opponent. After 16 months of being inactive, enduring 2 car accidents, and drastically losing weight from over 190 pounds leading up to his bout with Crawford last July, Errol Spence was not at his elite best. Are we dismissing the possibility that Madrimov could sleep him? Said commentator Chris Mannix to DAZN Boxing about Terence Crawford potentially losing to Israil Madrimov. If Madrimov connects with Crawford using the same punch that KO'd Magomed Kurbanov, he might achieve similar results. Crawford is a skilled fighter with impressive defensive abilities, but his chin isn't invincible, just like those who've been knocked out by Madrimov. Despite Crawford's expertise in avoiding punches, he's not impervious to them. Mannix said, Madrimov can punch. He can really crack. When I saw them face-to-face in New York a few weeks back, there wasn't much of a size difference. In fact, Crawford was a little bit bigger at that moment. I don't think size is going to be that much of a factor there, but this is an in his prime, incredibly skilled, really strong junior middleweight. Crawford's infrequent bouts are due to his focus on negotiating and seeking out the perfect opponent. This lack of consistent fighting could be more of an issue than anything else, as he has only fought once a year for the past 4 years. Mannix said, I think this Madrimov fight is going to be the toughest fight of his career. I'm thinking back to all the tough fights he's been in. I think this is going to be his toughest one when I look back at all of them. Make sure to check out some of our other videos on the screen if you enjoyed this one.